Good afternoon, Tallahassee. Welcome to another edition of Tallahassee National Action in Action. I'm your host, Reverend Don Toliver, bringing things that are important to you, people that matter, and things that are happening in your community and throughout the nation. Today, we will not disappoint. We have none other than Wesley Red, or do I want to call him Jump Shepherd? Brother Red, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you today?
Uh, Brother Red, I'm doing great, sir. Or which one we're going to call you today? Is it Jump Shepherd? Is that what we're going to go with?
Please call me Jump Shepherd.
Brother Shepherd, how are you today, sir?
I'm good.
How are you, my friend?
I'm legally changing my name. It's going to be about a week from, actually exactly 1 week from today.
Okay. Well, let's talk about who Jump Shepherd is. Then we're going to go with that, and let's talk about why you're there. Who is Jump Shepherd?
Who is Jump Shepherd? Jump Shepherd, formerly known as Wesley Red, educator, astronomer, and now electrician, but certainly not a politician. Active community organizer, Chicago Federation of Labor delegate, and Electrical Workers Minority Caucus member who frequently donates his Saturdays giving back to the community through volunteer electrical work, engagement through the church, and volunteering at food pantries. I'm no stranger to the neighborhood.
Sounds like Jump Shepherd to me.
Hey.
Brother Shepherd, what are we running for? Let's get to that. What office are we looking to try to see?
So, before I start, I'd like to recite a poem. It's a poem that's pretty close to me. It's by Aisha Jacko. Food and liquor stores rest on every corner, from 45th and State to the last standing Henry Horner. J&J's Harold Chicken, good finger licking while they sin at Rothschild and Kenwood Liquors. The winos crooked stagger meets the high stride of the youth, searching for the truth. They rebel and raise hell across alleyways and in classroom settings. They get high off that trunk bass and 2020 rims. They brought braids, Air Force Ones, and Timbs. They drink Hennessy, Hypnotic, and 40s. They call their women hoes, bust-downs, and shorties. They keep funeral homes in business and gunshot wars of hospitals full. Prisons packed, bubbling over in brown sugar. They keep them empty. West Side lots crowded, pipes powdered. The well is running dry. The days of Malcolm and Martin have ended. Our hope has descended and off to the side, waiting for the reinstallment of the revolution because we are dying at the cost of our own pollution. But God has another solution that has evolved from the hood. I present one who turns the fiasco to good. And that's by Aisha Jacko. It's from Lupe Fiasco's first album, and it's something that's been near to my heart for a long time, and I think that's part of what I was raised in. She was describing Chicago. She's describing my hometown, and that's where I grew up. That's what I know, and that is what cultivated me and raised me to be this with this revolutionary spirit. I'm Jump Shepherd, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate out of Illinois. That's who I am.
Brother Shepherd, we reach a lot of places with the National Action Network throughout the country, have several chapters in Chicago as well. So let's talk about why you running for Senate in Chicago, Illinois, sir.
Sure. Why am I running for Senate? So, quite frankly, we're out of time. Our country is $35 trillion in debt, and Trump's stacked Congress is cutting Medicaid and still running a deficit to give his billionaire friends even greater tax breaks, making his expiring, obscene 2017 tax breaks permanent. So, really, the risk is not in running to save our country. The risk is in doing nothing. I'm running on a platform that will restore our middle class, the middle class that has been shrinking for decades. The retiring politician that I am running to replace, Dick Durbin, he said all the right things throughout his career. He's a really good politician. He's a top-tier politician. And that's kind of the problem. He's been in politics for 50 years. He's been in the Senate for 30. He's been the number 2 Democrat in the Senate for 20 years. And throughout all of this time, he says all the right things, but our middle class has been shrinking constantly under his supervision, under Chuck Schumer's supervision. So the question begs, what are they doing behind closed doors? We need someone who is not a politician, someone who's from where you and I are from, someone who comes from the places that are forgotten. We need people from the middle class. We need working class people to run our Congress. We need more people like us in Congress. And I looked around and I realized that I had to be the change that I wanted to see. That's why I'm running.
Well, Vic Durbin names is synonymous in Chicago politics and throughout the country as well. So coming in, not necessarily fill his shoes, but a changing of the guard. How do you think people are going to look at you as a changing of the guard on what needs to happen in Chicago?
So in Chicago, not even just Chicago though, it's greater than Chicago. Chicago's important. We have issues that we need solved, but across the country, I want to be the spark. I want the class of 2027, the congressional class of 2027, to be the spark that ignites this country, that excites this country to be involved in politics. Not just the wealthy, not just the elite, not just those who can afford a $10 million campaign from their own pockets, but people from the middle class. Mm-hmm. That's who I want to inspire. I want to inspire regular people to run for U.S. Senate, U.S. House, but also state and local House and mayor's offices, and even your city boards and your school boards. We need to be the legislative process, and I want to inspire that change. I want to inspire that cultural shift in our country.
You know, Brother Shepard, with that being said, what are some of the up-and-coming changes look like if we're able to get in and make this not just for Illinois, but like you said, across the country? What does it take to make these changes to get out of this orange mentality?
Honestly, I think the changes that are necessary, I don't even think they're drastic. I think they've been incremental changes that have been happening over time. At least since, so I started getting involved in politics watching Bernie Sanders in 2015 and 2016 during that election cycle. He's the one who really inspired me to start following politics closely. And I learned more and more about our legislative process and how we are being left out of it. But I've come to realize over the last few years when I decided to run for the Senate, that it's not just me. Our entire country is more involved, and we're becoming more involved, probably due to greater access to the information and to the politicians through Instagram and TikTok. We get to see them. We get to see them more closely. And I believe the change that is necessary for us to really millennials and Generation Z to become part of the legislative process, I believe that change has already been happening. We just have to take that next step and run.
You know, that's pretty enlightening. But it seems like with the last election that the Democratic Party didn't fare too well. What is going to take for Generation Z and X and Q and P to vote? Really, what is it going to take for them to vote?
That's a great question. That's actually a question my campaign and I are working on right this moment. And right now, where we're at, it's quite simply education, and that's not re-educating an entire population is not an easy task, but it's a necessary one. We need to make it entertaining. We need to make it fun to be engaged in politics. We need to make it interactive. People want to talk to their politicians. They want to see their politicians. They don't want their politicians just to be in Washington. And I believe when we are on the ground, like for instance, the No Kings protest, I was here in Chicago. When we are on the ground engaging with our population, with our base, with our constituents, and we are listening to them, and we know exactly what it is, I can ask, what is it that you want from your senator? What do you expect your representative to do for you? And I got to ask that question at that protest. At that protest where people were protesting against a king, against a dictatorship, and against these ICE raids that are happening. I get to speak to people who are just like me, people who may not have been able to come out to a protest on Thursday or on Wednesday, but on a Saturday they have the time. And I believe that's where the change happens. I believe that's where the culture shift happens. We have to engage with our base. We have to engage with our constituents. We have to let people know, as politicians, as legislators, that we care.
Brother Shepherd, if somebody wanted to get more information in your campaign, how do they reach out to you? Did I ask my next question after you give me this information? How is their website? Is there some type of media outlet, Instagram, all that other stuff to be able to reach you?
Sure. So our social media is under construction. Our TikTok is up and running. It's Jump Shepherd for U.S. Senate. Our YouTube is Jump for Senate. Our website is under construction, Jump for Senate. It'll be ready soon. Our ActBlue is actblue.com/donate/Jump for Senate. JUMPFORSENATE. It's Jump for Senate on basically all media.
Okay. With that being said, so that we can reach out and get back to you, looking at what's currently happening in our country, do you think the people have learned the lesson from this previous election?
That question there is, I'm a little jaded. It's a little bittersweet because I don't want our people to learn hard lessons. I don't want that. I want our population, our country to really, I want us to have an easy life. I want life to be good. America is the land of opportunity. I want people to be able to chase that opportunity without fear of getting kicked off of their Medicaid. I want them to be able to chase opportunity without fear of getting kicked out of the country. I want them to be able to chase opportunity. And when we don't understand what a tariff is as a country, I feel like it's an opportunity for engagement and for education. And two, it's sad. I'm upset. I'm frustrated. Yes, we've learned our lesson. I'm sure whatever, the Democrats are going to take the House, maybe the Senate in the 2026 election cycle. But at what cost? At what cost?
The cost has been great. The best we can do is take the House and Senate and make 45, 47 a lame duck. But what do you think that we can do as a people to take back what it seems like people say we're losing our place, our footprint, all the way down to our history? What is it going to take on that back?
This may be cliche, but the answer really is vote. Get out there and vote. Vote in your midterms. Vote in your state and local elections. You need to vote. But more importantly than voting, we have to educate ourselves. We have to teach our children. And I'm speaking to working and middle class people as well. We need to educate our children. We need to show our children how important it is to follow the legislative process, to see what bills are getting enacted in our state house, in our federal House and Senate. We need to know exactly what's going on, because when our legislators are not taking care of us and we're not paying attention, well, they can just do whatever they want. They walk all over us. So I think the most important thing is truly to learn the legislative process and also vote. Use your voice. Everybody didn't have a right to vote so long ago. And, our forefathers fought. Our ancestors fought. And some of them died so that we have this privilege, this right. I think it's only right to exercise it.
I tell people all the time that every time you choose not to vote, that is the vote for the candidate that you're opposing. Yeah. So how does it make sense? Make it make sense to me. We need to make it make sense. So what are we going to do to make it make sense with the Jump Shepherd campaign?
That's a good question. The way we make it make sense. It's what we've been doing all throughout our campaign. We educate our voters. We educate our constituents. and we make it engaging. We keep the clips, the videos, we keep them short because we don't want to overwhelm. It has to be engaging, but it can't be cumbersome. So we get little snippets here and there, and over time, before you know it, you know what a senator's duties are. You know what the committees are in the House. You know how many votes it takes to win a vote, to pass a bill, and make a bill and become a law. And I think it really just takes time, dedication, and consistency. Working with the people and caring about the people, and also listening to what they say, what they want from a senator, honestly. Because maybe the process we're using to educate our constituents isn't getting through to them. If they tell us they don't understand, we have to teach them in another way. But it really is fundamentally about hitting it constantly and consistently.
You brought out a few points appealing to the generations that in the last election just didn't simply go out and vote. The African American male, what would be the message to them to make sure we solidify our vote a little better?
Protect your women. Protect your women, bro. Because at the end of the day, the 92% voted very strongly for our interests. And I feel like, let's be clear. 4 out of 5 black men did vote for the Democratic candidate, for Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. Not enough black men voted. And if more black men were engaged, we would have won. Kamala would have won. And now I don't fault black men for not voting. They were disengaged because the candidate's messaging was not geared towards them. It felt like the black men were being shunned for being men. And I understand. I didn't personally feel that way. I had my own differences that I agree. I disagree with Kamala and the Democratic Party on, but I feel like black men, and I would even venture to say men as a whole, were disincentivized to vote. They felt like they feel like they're being left out of the legislative process. They feel like they are being left out of the American economy. Even men do feel this way. So I don't knock them for not wanting to vote. I understand why they didn't want to vote, but at the end of the day, these are your rights that are being taken away slowly, that are being eroded when Trump decides he wants to deport an illegal immigrant or deport a U.S. citizen. You're next. Those are your rights being eroded away.
These are the type of things that the average American does not take the time to look, read, and notice. It's a lot of things they say are going on, but the main things that are going on is that we have to be more astute and in tune into what's going on with the voting race. Now, Brother Shepherd, we need to make sure that we solidify you in your campaign and making sure that we can do all we can to get you in this seat. So if you had to do an appeal to America, what would be your appeal on Tallahassee National Action in Action today?
My appeal. That's a good question. I would say, I feel like we are out of time. We're out of time. Our climate, the global temperature has already risen 1.5 degrees Celsius. We are already past the point of no return. We are already past the point of irreparable damage to our environment. We are going to lose the bees. I just read an article that said we may be the last generation to see fireflies. We are running out of time, and not just environmentally, but economically. Our middle class is disappearing. Our working class is working 2 and 3 jobs. My brother not my brother, excuse me. My best friend just told me he was going to start working a second job. He was going to start Ubering because he doesn't make enough money as a postal worker. Those are government jobs. Those used to be secure jobs. We don't make enough, and we're being taxed. Our middle class, our working class is being taxed too heavily, and the billionaire class is not being taxed heavily enough. And we are actually taxing them less. We are giving them tax breaks with this big, beautiful bill, and it's frustrating. It's so frustrating to me. It's like, what can I do? What can I do? I'm going to run for Senate, and I'm going to be the spark. Me and the generation that I come in with, the class of 2027 is going to be the spark that changes the tide, that revitalizes the way Americans see politics, that renews the way Americans see politics. And we have to make a change. We have to make a change now because we're out of time. The Dick Durbins and the Chuck Schumers have had fun for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They've been in office. It's time for a change of guard.
You know, Brother Shepard, I'll have you back on my show again in a few weeks, and we'll continue this dialogue because I believe that it's important to rekindle the flame of young America. And I speak of young America, those from 18 to 40. You know, I'm in the next stratosphere, over 60. So what needs to happen is, as you mentioned, that spark, that flame, what it is it's going to take for the jump shepherds of the day to be able to kindle this spark and make this flicker into a flame. So let's give them this information again so they can reach out to you, and I'll definitely have you back in a few weeks.
Appreciate that. And well, for one, Jump Shepherd cannot exist without the people of Illinois, without the people of this country behind him, supporting him. I can't do any of this alone. First of all, I'm just one guy. I'm just a guy. I'm just an electrician from Chicago, a union electrician, but I'm just an electrician from Chicago. I don't have any power by myself. My power comes from the people, 100%. It doesn't come from PACs. It doesn't come from Walmart, the Walton family donating billions of dollars. It comes from United States citizens. The way you can donate to the campaign is actblue.com/donate/jump4senate. You have to put the whole thing in, otherwise it won't work. actblue.com/donate/jump4senate. Thank you.
Well, Brother Shepard, as I stated, we have you back on Tallahassee National Action. And I tell every time somebody comes on my show, you have to be a part of action. You have to get into the action. So be a part of what's going on in your community. Be a part of a civil rights organization, NAACP, National Action Network, whatever that's going on in your community to make things change and make a difference. But today, we thank you, Brother Shepard, for being on our call. We thank you for being here. But most of all, sparking that flame, not just having to be a flicker, to continue to have it to boast and to go out of control. So I thank you for taking time and being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Reverend Don Toliver, for having me on your show. I'm truly honored. Thank you for your hospitality, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Brother Shepard, we'll have you back in a few weeks. America, do your part. Not only register to vote, go out and cast your vote. Make sure that you're understanding what needs to happen. Because if you do not, we'll find ourselves in the same predicament we're in currently. And we don't ever want to be faced with the orange cloud of 45, 47 again. Thank you, Brother Shepard. We'll talk to you soon. Doc Baker, we thank you. Tell Lisa, all of you working on behalf of the radio, God bless you. We'll see you next week. Don Toliver signing off for Tallahassee National Action Night. See you next week.